next signing we're going to talk about, one that I'm personally the most excited about as our Colts fan, is Phillip Rivers signing a 1-year, $25 million deal to join this Indianapolis Colts team. We all know they have a great elite offensive line. The defense is very solid. They've got some other pieces and some other weapons. So, Steph, what do you think about this Rivers signing? I'll let you start it off. I'll just throw a hint out there. I'm excited about it. But what does this mean for the Colts? Are they contenders this season? What does it mean for them in fantasy football? Do you like Rivers? Do you like their offensive weapons and their pieces? Lay it on me. Who's the biggest winner and loser from this signing?
I think the biggest winner is Jack Doyle. We've seen Rivers always target the tight end, especially in the red zone. We saw Antonio Gates, I think Hall of Famer Antonio Gates, have incredible scoring volume, even well past his prime, when they would just put him in there on the 4-yard line and just have him, run a slant to the outside, and Rivers was always targeting him. Rivers also brings a high completion percentage. He completed 66% of his passes with the third most completions in 2019, seventh most attempts. They're for 4,600, a little over 4,600 yards in 2019. So we know the volume's there. The only thing that does worry me, and this is where I think in the range of outcomes, we could see the wheels come off. I hate to say this for your Colts. The wheels could come off. Rivers had a tough 2019 at times. He threw 23 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. So almost an even 1-to-1 ratio there. That scares me a little bit for the Colts, especially when, yes, T.Y. Hilton is a beast when he's healthy, when he's on the field, but that hasn't been a recurring theme as of late. Maybe we see some of the wide receiver weapons take a step up. Maybe Paris Campbell comes in as that deep threat and has a breakout. Maybe Zach Pascal, can break out as well on the same time that Hilton's also on the field. I do think Marlon Mack will benefit with more scoring opportunity. We have seen Rivers be able to move the ball, be able to get them down there. We saw Mike Williams have a kind of a sneaky year for the Chargers in 2019. I think there could be a player that's a kind of a lesser known weapon on the Colts that could become that new Mike Williams profile kind of guy. And then I think they'll be about the same in terms of their ground game. They have a great offensive line. Now that Rivers goes from one of the worst O-lines to one of the best, everything gets better. We could even see some sneaky guys like Nyheim Hines get a big bump as kind of a sneaky late round PPR guy. In 2019, he was their third down back. I could see that coming into play more. We saw the volume and the efficiency that Austin Eckler was able to have last year. I think Rivers is willing to check it down just the same way we were talking about with Teddy Bridgewater. So I circle Hines as one to keep my eyes on as we get closer to this season. Keep an eye on his ADP. He could be a really a late value that could pay off. It just doesn't get me extremely excited. I don't see it as a massive upgrade, looking at Jacoby Brissett, but certainly Rivers brings experience, if nothing else, which can help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I asked for a winner and a loser, and it sounds like for the most part, the offense is all winners, which I think I actually agree with. That was a bit of a trick question. And regardless of if the wheels come off or not, you have to think this is an upgrade for that Colts offense. Rivers threw for 4,600 yards last season. Even if he does throw 20 interceptions, just from a volume perspective, it's going to mean so much to this offense that felt so suppressed at times last year. I really like the point you made about Nyheim Hines. We all know what Rivers did with Austin Eckler last season, what he did with guys like Melvin Gordon, Darren Sproles in the past. So there's a lot of opportunity. Yeah, Danny Woodhead. So there's a lot of opportunity for we'll never forget Danny Woodhead. He's a legend. But there's a lot of opportunity for Hines. I think a piece of that is kind of that Chargers system, even with some new head coaches. They come in and they adapt to Rivers' game a little bit. I don't think Rivers is going to come in and totally revamp this Colts offense that Frank Reich has been running. But I think just from a tendency perspective, it is going to mean an uptick in checkdowns for Nyheim Hines. I remember so many times last season in the 2-minute drill or the hurry-up offense, it just felt like Rivers would dump it to Eckler 7 plays in a row. And I remember in a fantasy matchup when I went against Eckler, who I think was on your team,
yes.
It was like he's doing nothing, and then all of a sudden he has 7 catches for 70 yards on one drive, and I'm like, well, there it goes. There's 14 points. So I think even in those situations, Nyheim Hines could have some sneaky value where Rivers just wants to move the ball down the field and get a field goal. He's perfectly content dumping it off 5 plays in a row for, 3 air yards, and then the running back runs it for another 7. So that's definitely a great point. I think on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be great for T.Y. Hilton. Phillip Rivers has always locked in on his wide receiver one. We know the volume that Keenan Allen has gotten over the past several seasons. In the last 3 seasons, when Keenan Allen was able to play all 16 games, he had at least 8.5 targets a game each season. And that's, the past 3 seasons in a row. So that's something that's never going to change. And Hilton last season with Jacoby Brissett only saw 7 targets a game in the games he was healthy. So just, give Hilton another target or 2 per game as that wide receiver one who Phillip Rivers can really lock into as his first read. And I think that's going to go a really long way for T.Y. Hilton. He has a great ability to get open deep. He has a great ability to get open at the line of scrimmage. So I think it's going to be fun. I do think the Colts still need to bring in another weapon. I don't know that Zach Pascal and Chester Rogers are really going to be able to get it done as the wide receiver too. I would love to see them bring in another maybe lower level free agent wide receiver, or maybe someone in the mid rounds of the draft to help out with that offense. But yeah, I think it's great. I think, like you said, Jack Doyle is going to see a huge uptick, and Phillip Rivers has some streaming ability just because of the volume we've seen. Yeah, he has the volatility to throw 3 or 4 interceptions in a game, but there's games where he could still go for 300, 350 yards or 3 or 4 touchdowns if he has the right matchup. So it's a great move for the Colts, and I think it's a great move in fantasy football for all of these Colts pieces.
I definitely love it as a move more for fantasy than I do for, Super Bowl runs and playoff implications. The biggest winner to me, though, is Jack Doyle, especially with Eric Ebron leaving the Colts. That's 52 vacated targets. You got to think, Jack Doyle saw 72 targets in 2019. I expect him to be even higher than that. So I'll put him as kind of a low end, a mid to low end tight end 1. And I think Rivers kind of stays the same. We know what we're going to get out of Rivers. He's been in the league for so long.